Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this very important issue, Mr. Speaker. First, I want to put it on record that officially I am the Jubilee Parliamentary Group Secretary, and that is the position that I've been holding since 2020. And therefore, I am the only one in Parliament who has the right to speak on issues pertaining to parliamentary group, both in the Senate and the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, secondly, this purported Azimio coalition agreement, even as an official, as a NEC member, I am yet to see. And I'm sure during the ruling that you made on 6 October 2022, you also alluded to the same, that this is a non-existent document. And therefore, we as Jubilee, Mr. Speaker, we wrote to you on a number of occasions, and the person who wrote to you is none other than the person who was then the Secretary General, Honorable Kioni. He wrote to you on the leadership of the houses. He wrote to you on the formation on Commission on Revenue Allocation. He wrote to you on YALA. He wrote to you on Pan-Africa, literally to demonstrate that Jubilee as a party is a distinct party, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we're in this era. Between now and the general election, this party, great former party, has been conned. We lost PSC, and the shocking thing, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Waluke was in jail. They nominated him, took the nomination letter to jail, and 1 day later, they appointed another person as his replacement. This is the most inhuman thing that I have ever seen, Mr. Speaker, with this group, and of course, it's a trademark, Mr. Speaker. Equally, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Fatuma Dulu lost her position as a minority whip. The Honorable Sabina is here. The Honorable Margaret Kamar has lost her membership of the Pan-African Parliament, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, taking all this into account, Mr. Speaker, it has dawned on us, as being the second largest minority party, Mr. Speaker, and taking into account that some of us are not cows. We cannot blindly follow the whims of individuals who don't reason, Mr. Speaker. We have decided, and I want to put it on record that I'm not a cow, and that's why I've been here, I've been elected many times, Mr. Speaker, because I reason, I appreciate, and make decisions that is consistent with what I think is correct, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you have also alluded to the provisions of the Fair Administrative Action, Mr. Speaker. If you look at this, all the Jubilee members have been removed from the WhatsApp group of the Azimio coalition, Mr. Speaker. That is the first demonstration that we are in the wrong coalition, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, technically speaking, Jubilee is part of Azimio as of now. But, Mr. Speaker, I need your protection from this particular member. I don't want to say he's my good friend, but you know, certainly I'm qualified to say a lot of things about you, and you wouldn't like this house. Mr. Speaker, taking into account the provision of the Fair Administrative Act, Mr. Speaker, this letter, purported letter from my good friend, the Honorable Wandai, and I want to say this for the good of Honorable Wandai, you have demonstrated enough that you are up to the job of being the minority leader to the honors of Azimio. That we appreciate. But equally, we will not allow you to step on our rights. This particular letter, Mr. Speaker, is malicious, Mr. Speaker. This particular letter is capricious. It's unconstitutional. It's inconsistent with the provisions of every...
Mr. Speaker, the trajectory you are allowing this debate to take is very dangerous. First and foremost, Honorable Keynan, instead of addressing you, is continually addressing me. One, which is against standing orders. But more importantly, Honorable Keynan is insinuating that some of us are cows, which is totally cows. He has said so. Which is totally unparliamentary.
Order. I didn't hear that.
If you didn't hear him, you can take the answer.
Order, honorable members.
We can't allow this house to degenerate in the manner you are making it degenerate.
Order, honorable members.
That is
Order.
true. That is true.
Honorable Keynan.
We can't allow this house to...
You have made your point, Keynan. No, sorry. Order.
Mr. Speaker, let me correct this. I said the Honorable Wandai is my good friend. He has demonstrated that he's up to the job. And I said me as an individual, Adan Keynan. And as a father of the 13th Parliament, I said I'm not a cow. I reason, I think, I reflect. I didn't make any reference to any particular individual. To that extent, I am allowed to say what I want to say, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, secondly, I said, taking into account the provisions of the Fair Administrative Action Act, Mr. Speaker, all the members of Jubilee have been removed from the WhatsApp group of the Azimio group. A clear demonstration of intolerance. And Mr. Speaker, you have been a victim. And Mr. Speaker, God is fair. What goes around comes around. It's exactly 5 years ago that you are hounded out of an office like this one of Honorable Sabina in a very, unceremonious manner, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I ask for some few minutes. Mr. Speaker, I was saying this. My good friend, the Honorable Waluke, the BG of Jubilee decided to have him as a representative of Jubilee in the Parliamentary Service Commission. And the leadership went ahead and gave his nomination when he was in prison, Mr. Speaker. And 2 days later, they gave it to another person, Mr. Speaker. What is worse than that, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, the import of this is this. The import of this, Mr. Speaker, is this. We as Jubilee, taking into account our rights as a party, considering that we are under the new constitutional commission, Constitution, Mr. Speaker, we will be seeking to amend the standing orders, Mr. Speaker, so that Jubilee is recognized as a distinct parliamentary party, Mr. Speaker, that has all the rights. Mr. Speaker, I also know that being the second largest party within the minority, Mr. Speaker, even the position of the deputy minority leader was ours. You can see it has gone to another party.
Your time is up. Your time is up. Give him 1 minute, make your point and sit down.
Mr. Speaker, in short, what we are trying to say is this. Under the current constitution, we will not allow to be intimidated. We will not allow to be blackmailed. We will not allow to be backstabbed. We are here by right. We will continue to exist by right. Our rights must be appreciated, and it's the onus in this on you, Mr. Speaker, as the leader of this House, to protect the rights of every member of this House, regardless of their political affiliation, and that's why we as Jubilee, Mr. Speaker, we are not persuaded, will not be intimidated, we are not part of what is being proposed, and Honorable Sabina continues to be our deputy minority, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.